Hello folks, it's Richie from The Arcade and I'm joined with Mike, otherwise known as the Beer Broker on Instagram. Hi Mike, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks Rich. Thanks for having me again for another beer tasting.
Absolute pleasure mate, as always. Today, as you know Mike, we are tag teaming against the Wreckers. So Staggeringly Good have very recently released a new range of beers called Wrecker Series. And it just so happens that we were a little bit delayed with getting these videos done due to Christmas and lockdowns and diets and dry January, but it's actually kind of worked out quite nicely because we've got two new beers. We're going to take them on tonight. And yeah, they're called the Wrecker Series. And what is the Wrecker Series, Mike? Because we're a little bit confused as to what category they kind of live under.
To be fair, I think a lot of people are confused because I've seen a lot of people on Instagram and different places put them as fruit sours, as sour beers, but I've tried both of these beers before tonight, and for me, they're not sours at all. They're more fruit smoothies, fruit beer. But I think they're in the bracket of their own. And you'll definitely see from the pour, especially of the cherry, coconut, and licorice, why they're in their own separate category. It's one of the most spectacular pours I've ever seen on a beer in my life.
Wow, okay. We just put it under the other category. That's we couldn't decide where it went. So if you're looking for the beer, it's in the other category. The other thing I've noticed as well, like these are heavy hitting beers. The Burst Blueberry is an 8.5%, and the Chewy Cherry,
8.5 and 8.1.
8.1. Is it just me, mate, or is 8% the new 6%?
There's this seems to be this new trend in the beer world, especially in 2020, where the higher the percentage, the more popular the beer.
I think so.
And for myself, I believe it's always in the flavour, it's the taste, not the alcohol percentage. There's like before we've come on tonight, I've had a small Three Hills Small Steps 3% pale ale, and that was tasting just as good as something that's 9%. And so it's all about the flavours rather than the percentage, but sometimes the alcohol's needed, especially in something that's fruity, because it cuts through and gives it that alcohol adult feeling.
So we've got the two flavours here then. So the first one they brought out was the Burst Blueberry, which is a blueberry pancake with maple syrup, which is something that's very close to my heart in a nostalgic and kind of furring up the arteries kind of perspective. Anything that's just like a kind of maple pancake flavoured beer, just take my money.
Shut up and take my money.
The cherry flavoured one, which is, as you said earlier, the kind of cherry, coconut and licorice. I've got to say, mate, that isn't a flavour I'd usually pick off the shelf, but you're telling me otherwise, actually. It's meant to be a really good...
I feel the flavour combinations really suit each beer. And the cherry one really surprised me because licorice isn't a flavour that you'd expect to have in a beer. But because they're both beers have got quite acidic, sweet, rich fruits in them, especially in the cherry wrecker, the licorice, the anise kind of balances it out, which I think is neat. That gives that kind of savoury twist which is needed. And with the blueberry maple syrup pancake one, you do get this like pancakey kind of vanilla taste at the back, which again balances the sweetness and the acidity out, which is really good. And which is again why I don't feel the sour beers, because they're very well balanced. I even froze the blueberry one. I had it on my pancakes on Shrove Tuesday.
Wow.
A bit of ice cream, froze it thing. Because similar to 450 American Brew, they do slush puppy ones, and I felt this lent itself for that. So I tried it, and to be fair, it's a good pancake accompaniment.
That sounds incredible, mate. Oh my God. Okay. Fantastic. And I find artwork as well, just very quickly, we'll touch on it. I'm a man who judges a book by its cover, certainly in terms of craft beer. And I just love the artwork. I think they've enlisted another designer with this. I just love the kind of high-eye cartoon characters. It's just beautiful and colourful. I love a little Sugoi guy down there.
One thing you might miss on these cans as well is that you can see on the bottom left of the label, there's actually a Wrecker scale.
I've just literally caught that, mate.
The blueberry is a 3 on the Wrecker scale, and the cherry is 5 on the Wrecker scale. And you can see that within the pores and within the thickness of the beers, the difference. So I kind of want to see a beer from each stage so you can compare them. I want to see a number 1 up to number 5, and I'm quite surprised they went in the middle. I would have thought they'd have built up. But the Cherry Wrecker going number 5 straight away, and to be fair, it's spectacular. And we'll see the pour after we've tried the blueberry, and you'll understand it's spectacular. It's part of the magic of the beer, to be fair.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I'm guessing, mate, it's called Wrecker, this series, because they've picked up a bit of a a reputation of kind of destroying glasses with the viscosity and dirtiness of existing beers. So it's a pretty neat little nod there.
People will see if we drink it quick enough, see the state of our glasses. And I reviewed these 2 beers on my Instagram page, The Beer Broker, this week, and I put a picture of the pour on, and I put the state of my glass on the story of my Instagram page, and it literally took me 3 washes in the sink to get rid of the beer. So I think we should open the first one.
I think you're absolutely right, mate. Now we're going to go chronological, aren't we, mate? We're going to go what they released first, which I believe this was released about 3 weeks ago, was it? 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's released 3 weeks ago. It's released the Friday before Shrove Tuesday. So I believe, was it the 12th of February? You see, it's dark purple. You can taste the maple straight away when you sip that.
Wow.
But as you pour that, it's a very dark purple, and obviously expected blueberry being an oxidant and being quite, blueberries are very good for you, ladies and gentlemen. So,
there we go. Get it down you. The colour is just gorgeous, isn't it?
and you see what I mean? It's not a sour. It's tart.
It's got a bit of tartness, yeah.
But that's from the blueberries. It's very fresh. And then you get the sugary taste of the maple, followed by the flavours of the pancake flavours, which are generally like a vanilla kind of undertone.
It's I think it's more tart than you may think, personally, but it's certainly not your classic sour, is it? Where it's proper, like, your face kind of like scrunches up. It's very and like, yeah, the blueberry's massively prominent, I think. A bit cakey. I'm getting the pancake for sure.
I say in regards to tartness, you were saying the tartness comes for me from the blueberries. It's more like you've gone to a nice fancy restaurant and you've come to pudding and you've had a nice tart to tarn, but with blueberries.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, it's got that blueberry, nice crusty crumbliness, vanilla taste. And then you have the tart freshness from the blueberry with the added sugar syrup on top.
Yeah.
That's what I get. It's very decadent. It's a very decadent beer.
It certainly is, yeah.
It's a dessert beer. It's more a dessert beer than one that you're gonna sit there at the start of the night and go, I'm gonna go through 4 or 5 of them. You may have 1 or 2 and move on, or you have it as like a little treat now and again. But there's a time and a place for beers like that, and I know it's going to be just like the cherry one. People are very put off with the licorice. I think it's the same as the Wake Up and Smell the Ghost that was for Evil Twin, that was very dividing because of the use of maple syrup. I think that beer again is going to be quite divided because of the use of maple syrup, because it's a very unique flavour and it can become a bit overpowering, a bit too sweet and sugary for people.
No, I agree, by the way, with your profile, and the description of dinner is beautiful. I felt like I was there with you, Matt, having a lovely romantic dinner too.
Modern day Shakespeare, that's what I've been told.
But maple, I'm not really getting the maple in that. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I get the maple quite a lot. I think it's because I'm a maple. Personally, I'm on the pro maple syrup. I love maple syrup.
I could drink the stuff by the gallon, but yeah.
And I get it, but this is what I'm saying. It's different to Wake Up and Smell the Ghost, where that beer itself was very maple syrup heavy for me. Where this in stouts, I've had maple syrup stouts as well. But in this, it is very subtle, but it's very sugary, and I think it lends it with the blueberries. I think is a very good mix and a very good match. And I think it's a very good start to the Wrecker series.
I completely agree, mate. I completely agree. The lactose is a welcome addition. That is the mouthfeel's beautiful. It's on the thickometer. It's pretty thick, isn't it? But it's on the recometer. It's holding the glass to the camera.
We'll find out in a second, Rich, when we pour the second one, that where they're going to take the series. But
yeah,
the thing for me, the only thing for me is the use of lactose is quite divided again now, because there's quite a lot of vegan beer drinkers. There's quite a lot of people who are getting into being vegan who turn their nose up at the use of lactose.
Understandable. If that's the lifestyle, if that's your lifestyle, I completely get it. I think with something like this though, mate, if you're trying to recreate pancake,
it's needed.
It's required, isn't it? I think, yes.
Yeah. Just a warning as well to all the people who are watching who are vegan, it's also in this one. So
yes, so both are lactose.
I am now feeling quite sorry for you all, because this beer is one of my favourite beers of this year, or of the last year, calendar year.
What was your mark? Because you've given it a mark out of 5 on your Instagram. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, for the first one, I think I gave it about 4.25 out of 5. Yeah, which is quite high. I think I would have given it higher, but for me, before I marked it the Wrecker scale, I didn't realise there was a Wrecker scale of going up to 5. That's my fault. But I measured it against the sauropod as well. I expected something that was called the Wrecker to wreck my glass, no matter what it is on the Wrecker scale. And when I poured the blueberry, my glass was very clean at the end of it.
It is a clean beer, isn't it? For how it is. I mean, as I say, it is quite thick.
Which made me feel that they missold me something that was going to wreck me. Where, as in this cherry one, it wrecked my glass and it also wrecked my insides in a good way.
Okay, well, it's lived up to its name then, Mike. So next up then, we've got the Chewy Cherry Wrecker, then, as we said, which is released, what was it, last week or the week before?
Last Friday.
And this is weighing in at 8.1%. And as I said earlier, it's cherry, coconut, and licorice. So this one, you reckon, is the true Wrecker? Yeah,
I was really impressed with this. And I think I was the same as you when you looked at the ingredients. You got cherry, coconut, licorice. But coconut have been in a lot of fruit beers the last 12 months, and coconut really adds something to a fruit beer. I think it gives it that kind of earthy sweetness, but it balances. It's like an ingredient to balance out the tartness, and it's kind of like a link between the tart and savoury. And I think it really works. And I think you'll find when you try this, Rich, that you'd agree that it's a very, very good beer.
Let's do it.
Remember the pour, Rich. It's all in the pour for this one.
Okay, mate.
Oh, mine's exploding.
Well, it turns out that just days after recording this video, Staggeringly Good recalled the Chewy Cherry Wrecker for reasons related to exploding cans. We're doing it. We're going.
I've done it. Mine's exploded out of the gate.
Wow. Oh, Jesus. Mine is just. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that, guys, but this is what we were talking about earlier. The bubbles.
That's my head. Looks like brains.
That is insane, and that is wrecking the glass already, isn't it?
Yeah, it literally looks like red tadpoles.
That is the most disgusting description I've ever heard. Bottoms up.
Modern day Shakespeare, Richard. Well, you see, when you taste it, you get the sweetness and the richness from the cherry, but then that anise the licorice does balance it out and gives it kind of like a savoury flavour.
Straight away, look, you just know. You're leaving that into soak overnight, aren't you?
It took me 3 times to wash this.
That's we're up there, aren't we, with the sauropod? series for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. The sour one, especially the triple fruit with gold ghost, is both bubbled like volcanoes. Where this is a different type. I don't know how they do this magical genius and to get a head on a beer like this, but it's insane. I say just part of the pour is part of the magic for me, and I think it will help. The artwork, the pour, will help sell a lot of these beers because people will be intrigued by it. And then just tasting it, it's just a very, very, very nice beer.
It is a really nice beer. I think, as you kind of probably alluded to earlier, I don't think you'd have a session on these, would you? Really?
No, you wouldn't. It's quite rich. It's a decadent beer, isn't it?
Yes.
It's very decadent. So you wouldn't have a massive session. But you could sit sipping that for a good while. To be fair, you've got to get through the bubbles first. Still got a rain on that.
That is amazing.
But for me, this is a pure fruit beer. This beer reminds me especially of your like creek beers, your Belgian creeks that are very, very, pure cherry. But it's like one of those, but just put up to the max. Just with the coconuts there, just at the back again, another delicate touch. And then the anise again just comes in at the back and just gives it that kind of herbally kind of taste that's a savoury, herbally kind of flavour that balances it out. Because if it was just pure cherry, you wouldn't be able to drink more than a couple of sips of it. With those ingredients that are added, it just adds it and it makes it, for me, a very special beer.
Yeah, agreed. We were planning to just do the one video, weren't we, of the blueberry, and then a couple of weeks after they've announced the cherry one. So this is going to be I think it's going to be a strong series of beers. I hope it's going to continue for some time now because these are excellent. I think they're onto something here. That they've created a category where these beers don't quite fit into the typical kind of styles that we associate. As I say, there's a slight sour thing going there, but yeah, you're right. It's a fruit beer. It's not a sour, is it? It's desserty. It's luxurious. It's.
They've created a style of their own, which is good because they can push forward from that. It's what you want from a brewery that, especially in such a saturated like industry that it is now, where people are pumping out the same stuff time and time again. You want one just to come out from the pack, and this series for me is doing that. You've got the series that you've had before. You've got the Deus Saturated, the SG series, Something Good series, Saturated series. They're all IPA style series. No one's done really a fruit beer series or a sour series. Obviously, you've got your breweries like Vault City who do pump out the sours, but you've got no one who's gone outside the box in a sense and gone, we're not going to do a sour, we're not going to do IPA, we're not going to do stout, we're going to create something different. And they've created a beer with brains.
Right, guys. Well, as you can see, we took on the wreckers from Staggeringly Good. I mean, if we had to chuck one out the ring, who do you think's the winner out of the two? I think I've got my winner actually. It's not the one I might have thought.
I think the cherry's the winner, personally.
I think you're right.
I really do. It's such a nice beer, but it's a close call.
And so you gave the blueberry, the burst blueberry, a 4.25. What did you give this, Mike?
I believe I gave it a 4.75.
That's a very high score, mate, and I think it's worth it. I
do. I've only given a couple of beers 5 out of 5, so it's close, but I'm looking forward to the next one in this series. And if it is mango, I'm a massive mango fan, so fingers crossed.
That sounds amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. The Wrecker beers, we're loving them. Hoping that they're going to carry on with this series for the foreseeable because they're damn tasty. We have both of these beers in. They're on the website, ready for you to buy. We're serving the local area. And of course, if you don't live near the arcade, we're in Cannock. Please seek out your local bottle shop or craft bar. I'm sure they'll have it in for you. And I'm sure they'll be grateful for the the support as well. Mike, thanks to you, mate, as always, for joining us down the line, and I look forward to our next video, which probably won't be a Staggeringly Good, because we're not sponsored by them. It just turns out they they release two excellent beers. So the next one, we'll try and make it not one of those, but it's great beer, so you can see why we keep choosing them. But Mike, thanks again, mate. Thanks again to everybody who tuned in, and we'll bring you a new video hopefully very soon. Cheers.